Good morning. In this lecture, STL and other file formats in additive manufacturing is presented in this video. Additive manufacturing file formats are the most widely used and most popular, and the oldest file format is STL. That is, STL stands for stereolithography or standard triangle language or standard tessellation language. STL is the most common file format and it was invented in the year 1987. The stereolithography was invented by Charles Hull, and he also formulated the STL format. In the STL format, other file formats are STP, DXF, and are the 3D file formats used in additive manufacturing. The STL file formats specifies in two forms. One is in ASCII form and another is in binary form. The ASCII form, the file size of ASCII form is more, whereas the file size in binary form is very less. The STL file format is in 3D format. It converts 3D diagram into 3D file format. That is, the next, the STL file format divides or tessellates the entire object into smaller triangles. They are called as triangular facets, and that smaller triangle is specified by 3 vertices in Cartesian coordinates and one normal vector. As geometry changes, the triangular facet density also changes. STL, the main drawback of STL format is it does not represent color, texture, materials, other printed object properties. The first 3D printer was invented by Chuck Hull in 1987 in his company named 3D Systems. Chuck Hull also developed the STL file format. STL stands for stereolithography, standard triangle language or standard tessellation language. STL file format divides the entire object into triangles through the process called tessellation, and the process of subdividing the entire object into triangles is said to be triangles, or any other shape is said to be that tessellation. STL does not handle complex geometries. STL is suitable for very simple objects, and it will not handle curves or holes, and visible polygons are seen on the printed parts. If it is used for complex objects, visible polygons or visible lines can be seen on the surface of the printed parts. STL is supported by many softwares. It is compatible by many softwares. It is one of the most advantage of STL file formats. And this Chuck Hull, he invented the STL file format. ASCII format for defining a facet is solid name, facet normal, Ni, Nj, Nk, and the 3 vertices, triangular 3 points, 3 vertices are vertex in Cartesian coordinates, and end loop, end facet, and end solid name. And the general binary STL file format is given below, and it is described by the 80 character header and unit U integer 32 number of triangles. For each triangle, it is represented by a real number, normal vector, vertex 1, vertex 2, and vertex 3, and the attribute byte count and end. The binary STL file format starts with a 80 character header. Each triangle is represented by 12 32-bit floating point number, 3 numbers for each for normal, and remaining 9 numbers for vertices, 3 each. The STL file format, the major drawback of STL file format is it will not consider the measurements, that is measurement units. It represents only the millimeters. If other units are used in the slicing softwares, we have to we have to scale it again. Okay, that is, while modeling and models are made using units other than mm, have to be scaled in the slicer. STL can lead to errors such as self-intersections and non-manifold edges. It is a major drawback of STL file format. They produce self-intersections and non-manifold edges. It is the oldest and widely used file formats. In STL, simple shape require less number of triangles, and more complex shape require more number of triangles. For example, a cube, it requires a very less number of triangles. It can be tessellated into less number of triangles, whereas a complex object has to be tessellated into a large number of triangles. Commercially available software for simulation: Digimat RP, RP Photonics, Additive Lab, Procast, Arena, Automode, Sim Process. Basic structure of additive manufacturing file format: any file format other than STL does not contain this structure, but other file format this contains this type of structures. Object, that is the geometry of the object, then materials required for the object, and texture, and this is the surface finish information, and constellation. This represents the transformations like translation, rotation, scaling, and other things. And metadata represents the author information and other details about the triangles. Comparison of common file formats. First one, STL file formats. Here object is tessellated using triangular patches, no color information and no material information. It was developed by 3D systems. And OPJ file format, it contains polygons, quadrilaterals, and other freeform curves such as nerves. And color or information is no, material information is not available in OPJ format. It was developed by Wavefront Technologies. And PLY ply format, and it consists of fixed points, facets, and related data groups. Color information is present and material information not present in ply format. It was developed by Stanford. And AMF file format, it contains triangular curved triangles. It contains the color information is yes, then material information, it provides material information. It was developed by ASTM committee. And 3MF file format, it was developed by Microsoft. It contains colors, materials, and textures, color information available, material information available, and it was developed by Microsoft. And the AF file formats, they should be technologically independent. So AMF files should use XML structure. So the XML structure can be readable by human. So to describe the information of model objects in a general way. It cannot not only processed by computers but also understandable by humans. XML AMF additive manufacturing file format not only processed by computers but also be understandable by computers. The raw data such as author's name, model name should be recorded in the AMF file formats. And the new standard not only records a single material but also assigns different materials to different parts and change the proportion of two materials in stages. Okay. That is the file format should contain this data. It is possible to specify an image to be printed on the surface of the model. It is also possible to specify the most efficient print path for 3D printing. That AMF file format should have these features. Then AMF file format should be simple. For ease of understanding and application, the format should be able to read and edit in simple text viewer, and the same information should not be stored in multiple places in the file. Then additive manufacturing file processor should be extendable. Suppose if additional features are added to the object, that feature should be included in the existing file format. Each and every time a new file format should not be created, and the old file format can be updated if additional features are added. So this feature is called as extendability. As complexity and size of components increase, can be extended with the increasing resolution and accuracy of manufacturing equipment. Large arrays capable of handling same objects, complex repeating internal features, smooth surface or fine print resolutions should be included. Then high performance, that is it should be compatible with other softwares. It should be compatible with the slicer software and should be compatible with the CAD modeling software. So it should provide high performance, that is interaction time. It take very less time for its performance. Then strong compatibility, it should be compatible with different types of softwares. Comparison of different file formats. STL file format, triangular patches, the face supports more than 3 vertices. No, it supports only 3 vertices, and the compression ratio of PNG pictures is 44:7:1. And OPJ format, it is described by polygons, quadrilaterals and freeform curves such as NURBS. It supports more than 3 vertices. Compression ratio of PNG picture is 32.2:1. And PLY format, fixed points, facets, related data groups, and it will not support more than 3 vertices. Compression ratio of PNG picture is 87.9:1. And new file formats are OPJ, AMF and 3MF. And AMF file format. Okay, so far we have studied STL file formats. STL file format does not store color, texture and other information. It is the oldest file format. It is suitable for simple objects. For complex objects, other formats have to be used. The next format was invented by ISO ASTM Committee of 42 on additive manufacturing technologies in the year 2011, and it is jointly managed by ASTM or ISO. And the AMF stands for additive manufacturing file format, and it is also called as STL 2.0. The additive manufacturing file was developed to overcome the shortcomings of STL formats. AMF addresses 5 elements such as object, material, texture, constellation and metadata. As of today, SolidWorks and Autodesk supports AMF format. Among Slicer, Cura has support for AMF file format, and it is an XML based file format, so it is human readable file format. So any CAD/CAM software to describe the geometry, composition, color, materials and lattices any object with AM technologies can use this AMF file format. In AMF file format, that is the whole object is divided into straight triangles as well as the curved triangles. If there are any curved surfaces, it was tessellated using curved triangles. So AMF file format contains straight triangles as well as curved triangles. It has curved triangles and straight triangles. It provides additional features such as RGB colors, substructures, microstructures, etc. The constellation feature allows multiple objects to be stored within a file, specifying their location and orientation. It is an open source and provides complete and reliable information on 3D models for additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing requires only 3D models, and the AMF file format supports for the additive manufacturing. AMF stores information in a single XML file. It has curved triangular tessellation. AMF cannot widely accepted yet, even though it was developed and it was not widely accepted yet. Another file format is OPJ. Third file format is OPJ file format. So far we have discussed STL file format and AMF file format and this OPJ file format. The OPJ can store basic geometry, positions, colors, materials and textures. It is suitable for complex object trees, and models can be tessellated not only using triangles but also using polygons and quadrilaterals. It also supports free-form geometry such as NURBS surfaces and other surfaces. OPJ is less efficient in terms of compression that leads to heavier files, and if additional information like material, color and texture require supplementary PNG files. So it is a major drawback of OPJ format. It is also not accepted by additive manufacturing manufacturers. It was developed by Wavefront Technologies. Tessellation in CAD model. So the first object represents the object, and the second diagram represents it was tessellated into triangles, and the third diagram represents it was tessellated into very small triangles. The number of triangles are less. The printed accuracy of printed part will be good, and the number of triangles, the number of tessellations are less, and then the accuracy will be less in the printed parts in the additive manufacturing. Tessellation is a process of covering the surface with patterns. The common problems with the STL file formats: Gaps are missing facets, degenerate facets, overlapping facets, and non-manifold geometries. So, if there are any gaps or missing facets in the tessellation process using STL file formats, gaps are some missing facets will be generated. The shaded area represents that the missing facets, that the missing facets will not be printed up in the printed part. So it became a very big problem in the additive manufacturing subject. During tessellation of surfaces having large curvatures, gaps or holes can be generated in the intersection of these surfaces. This results in the errors at these intersections which leave gaps and holes along the edges as shown in figure. Then degenerate facets. So degenerate facets means that is the facet A should contain an altitude. It should contain a line. According to the facet rule, it should contain a line. So the DC should not be should not support with another line. This will create degenerate facets. During tessellation, open spaces are created due to unequal tessellation of two adjacent surface patches along a normal curve. So the two unequal patches, you can see two unequal patches. The stitching of these open surfaces is carried by STL file correction software, and this results in geometrical degeneracies. Degenerate provides essential topological information indicating matching of two surfaces, but it does not contain normal vectors. The information is stored before neglecting the degenerate facet. The third one is overlapping facets. The overlapping facets also creates problems in the printed parts. So in the STL file formats, overlapping facets will be generated. Overlapping triangles are shown in the bottom figure, and overlapping facets are shown in the top figure. It will also create problems in the 3D printing. Then non-manifold geometries. Non-manifold geometries means any edge shared by more than two faces. Here you can see the second diagram. This edge is shared by two faces. It is said to be a non-manifoldness. So if any edge is shared by two faces, it creates a non-manifold geometries. It is a very big problem in the STL files. Non-manifold geometries are geometric topology that allow all disjoint lumps to existing in their own logical body. They are mainly generated due to a round of errors during the tessellation of thin features. Okay, this is a tessellation. This is a non-manifold geometries. The non-manifold geometries, this problem is not present in other advanced formats. Advantages of STL formats: it is simple and old 3D printer format. More facets for better resolution, easy to handle and transfer, de facto standard format. Disadvantages of STL file format: STL file format stores a lot of redundant information. It is incapable of storing color, material and texture information. And for a table of 63,000 triangular facets, PLY binary takes 1.1 MB, PLY ASCII takes 2 MB, OBJ ASCII takes 2 MB, VRML file format takes 2.7 MB, and STL binary takes 3 MB, and STL ASCII takes 11 MB. The file formats, other file formats are BMP, GIF, JPEG, SPG, DWF. These are the 2D file formats. DXF, STEP, OBJ, 3FM are 3D file formats. Why use the and 3D, 3MF, not SMF, 3MF versus STL. STL file format is from 1987. SMF file format, 3MF file format was developed by Microsoft. 3MF is an open source file format. More than one object per file, ability to save printer profiles, color and texture information. Files are much smaller in 3MF file format. So 3MF, it is a new file format, and almost it has replaced that STL file format and other file formats. For simple objects, even then STL file format is used. For complex objects, 3MF file format is used by the additive manufacturing manufacturers. The 3MF is designed especially for additive manufacturing technologies by a consortium of Microsoft, Autodesk, and Dassault Systems. And 3MF includes complete model information contained within a single file. Data is stored in a human readable XML based file format, and it is a feature. And 3MF is a feature of additive manufacturing technologies. And the STL file format is almost dead because it does not store color and other informations. 3MF is a newly emerging file format developed by Microsoft and other industries. File size is 2 to 3 times less than STL file format in 3MF file formats. 3MF provides a clear definition of manifoldness. Manifoldness is not present in non-manifold edges are not present in 3MF softwares, and there is no ambiguity for models with self-intersection. The self-intersection problems were not present in 3MF format. And other format is step format. Step means standard for the exchange of product data, and it is a computer graphics standard format. It was not designed for additive manufacturing technology. It was designed for designed as a CAD file format, and it contains the product information. And this step format was sometimes used in additive manufacturing technologies, and if it uses in the additive manufacturing technology, it contains additional information. It was developed by ISO in the 1990s. This format is complex. It stores not only geometries but also product structure, assembly, configuration, and meter data. Some of the data which is not required for additive manufacturing is also present in this file format, so the file size is greater. Okay. STL is used for simple models, and 3MF is used for 3MF files are used for storing high resolution models. Thank you.